Welcome back. Smooth and Crypto. I'm your host, Maxwell Smooth. For the third, fourth time, I don't even know how many times it is at this point. We have Dude from Element280 and Helios. How are you doing, man?
Excellent. Am I coming through okay? My internet's been kind of shitty lately.
Yeah, sometimes it lags a little bit, but then you catch up.
Okay, just double checking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm loving uh Element 280. It's live. It's hard to pull me away from the stats screen on the and like the user vault page and just looking at all of the ecosystem tokens and how they're responding to, in my opinion, what Element 280 is doing to them. Like it's really interesting to watch, like in so many different layers.
Yeah, and I think people kind of understood what was going to happen before Element 280 come out, but I think in real time we're actually seeing it happen for the most part, and people are actually like, oh, this is big, and I think it's slowly starting to click as these minting is happening. And in the beginning, I didn't necessarily think I don't know how many days are left. 10 days left, so it's been 18 days and there's been over 5,000 NFTs made. So how does that feel? I know we were talking about, you wonder how many big legendary amps were going to be minted, and it seems like there's a ton.
Yeah, it's actually, I mean, there's over 3,000 that's been burned. So if
Oh
you
wow.
add that up, there's actually been 8,000, roughly 8,500 NFTs minted. Um, and out of that 8,500, 3,000 have been burned. So that's like more than a third of all NFTs minted or have already been burned, which is, I didn't expect that, like, and that's one of those cases where it's like the open market doesn't always operate as you might think, like we like day 280 and Titanx. We all expected one thing and we got something completely different, and
Mhm.
a prime example of the market can surprise you. And also you can't predict the market, obviously. And um, things just they there's so many factors that you can't put it all into one prediction model to decide what's actually going to happen. So but I think my opinion on the amount of NFTs burned is like, I figured that all of the compounders would just be minting tokens to sell those tokens on the market and remint more tokens, because then you're avoiding that 3% NFT burn tax. But I think what happened in reality is people weren't expecting to compound, and they're sitting on their NFT and they're like, wait, like I realizing I can burn this and get all the Titan X back to mint another one plus spare Titan X left over. Who
Mhm.
cares about that extra 3% burn tax? Like, yeah, I'm going to do that. And they're like, yeah, and the payout's not for 4 days. So I can burn this and mint another one and still get all the rewards I was intending on getting. I think that's what it was, is people didn't um, understand the full complexities of being able to compound your position on this, which is a huge part of the minting phase, is the compounding that's going on. And we see that like with every NFT, like with each weekly, distribution, we're seeing lots of people dumping on the market, but then a huge spike in people minting more NFTs, and it's like, um, yeah, it's fun to watch. I'll say that.
Yeah, yeah, it absolutely is. And have you noticed people burn more right after the rewards come out, or kind of later on in the week? Because in my opinion, people, if they were to burn, it would be after they had that weekly payment from their holding NFTs. But I just want to hear your opinion.
I haven't tracked that specifically, but I have noticed, like when I'm looking at the chart, like I'm noticing there's a delay. Like people aren't, like I feel like there's, with the 48-hour cooldown on minting tokens, people see an arbitrage opportunity. but they've got to wait 2 days to do it. So that creates this lag effect. And I think that's really what I've noticed mostly is just people, like right now, there's a ton of tokens that have been minted that are unclaimed. They're waiting on that 48-hour window to close, more than what's in liquid right now. And I think that's, my opinion is that's catching people off guard. They didn't expect to see the arbitrage opportunity there, the compound opportunity, and they're figuring it out on the fly and then having to wait 2 days to implement that.
Yep.
Whereas like if you're holding an NFT and you get your rewards, then we're seeing people selling that at a higher than 1-to-1 ratio, and I haven't followed them exactly what they're doing with those. Are they reminting more? Well, we're definitely seeing an increase in minting. As far as, is that the same user selling and reminting? I don't know specifically, because like I said, I haven't followed, wallets that hardcore about it, but I would say so. I'd say they're doing all of the above, really. But
Yeah. Yeah, I think what's really a great kind of design feature that you did was one, the 48-hour cool off period, and then two, the weekly payouts instead of it being like a constant reflection, like every day or every 6 hours or whatever it is. That weekly payout allows the market to kind of do what it does, and whether you sell it, buy it, burn it, whatever the case may be, it allows it to be like, okay, we don't have to do this right now because the rewards are coming out. It's like they're coming out this specific time every day, or every week, I should say. And the 48-hour cool off period is awesome because people mint NFTs and then they want to arbitrage it, but then it's like, oh, I have to wait 2 days for me to even make this play. And who knows what happens. And I think personally, people that do that, in all honesty, probably just hold the NFT after that 2 days anyway. They don't even burn it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the idea was to like give people the chance to make the play that they want to make, and if you're sitting on liquid tokens or an NFT and the ratio gets to a certain level and a bunch, it's preventing people from just like minting a bunch and dumping on the market immediately. They have to wait. And then while they're waiting, you as a existing holder can make that decision to front run all those people that are minting just to dump on the market. So yeah, it's working beautifully. It's, I feel like all the timelines, we wanted the rewards distribution, we wanted more often than every 7 days. It was really just a matter of gas efficiency. The more often we do payouts, the more expensive it costs in gas to claim these, because if you're letting it stack up, basically it just costs more gas for every distribution. So we tried to balance that with gas efficiency while still having reoccurring payouts, because we could have saved even more gas if it was payouts once a month or something. But that, I feel like weekly was fast enough, but not too gas intensive. It's kind of where we went with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And, just for me personally, right? The NFTs that I have for E280, right? Like I'm going to try not to sell any of them, right? I just want those rewards forever. And
Try not to.
I'm going to try not to, right? But that's why I have a few, right? So, just to keep some if that did happen. But either way, I really just like seeing, because I haven't claimed anything of my rewards. I just have that sitting there just so I don't even have the option, right? Because I have to do double gas to sell it, and especially with the tax right now, I don't even want to anyway. So it's like I'm just letting it stack up, and I've been blown away on how much actual rewards have came in through all of these weeks, and the estimated for this week already is crazy. So did you expect it to be that nuts?
No, I did not. It's again, like I kind of did simulations and, I felt like the system, this is going to be good. But then like in actual reality, it's even better than what I simulated, and like that's by design. I'm not like, when I'm simulating stuff, you're not simulating with best case scenarios. You're trying to, create a good balance. So like you don't create more expectation than what there actually is in the real world. So I feel like my simulations, I'm happy with it because like I was happy with the simulation with safe estimates, and then in real world with actual numbers, it's
Hmm.
producing better than what I expected. So it's like that's what you want to see as a developer, right? Like,
Absolutely.
yeah. So
Yeah, it's really awesome to see, and these rewards aren't going to stop, and I think that's really awesome. And maybe they're accelerated at this point, right, with the taxes being as high as they are.
mhm.
But the taxes are still going to be there. People are still going to burn their NFTs. People are still going to be buying, selling, and transferring these coins right after minting happens. So it's just a great reward system, and overall, just the type of arbitrage opportunities every single day that E280 is kind of capitalizing on is unreal in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah. What do we? You may let me share my screen here. We can kind of look at some of the stuff.
Yep.
Oh, share. Um, yeah, eight. I mean, so personally, like I was gonna be very happy to break 10 trillion in total mints from Titanx. And we are well on our way to meet that goal. So that right there, I'm just super happy about. Super happy. Like this to me, like if there's a single stat to show the success of a project, it would probably be Titanx received, right? And showing over 8 trillion Titanx come in is just, I'm beside myself. I'm so excited to see that. To me, like this is a successful project as it is, and we've got 10 more days of minting. Like so beautiful.
Yeah, it's awesome to see. And when we had our first stream about this, that was your goal. Like if we could see 10 million, that would be awesome. And the fact that we're like encroaching it within the next couple days, and you never know. I mean, the market's so irrational, right? It might happen tonight. Who knows, right? It's crazy. So if
Yeah,
people see an opportunity to make any type of money or whatever, they go for it. So
yeah, 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 yeah. I mean, we only need 1.5 trillion at this point over 10 days. Like that's very doable. And you can see, like I was saying earlier, this I kind of keep track of this unclaimed. This is showing these are tokens that have been minted that are still in that 48-hour waiting period to be claimed. And you can see like through the week, you can see that growing when people are realizing, oh, there's compounding opportunities here. I need to get on this. We see that section of the pie chart just grow. And then it's fun seeing the NFT rewards, that pie, which is there's more in rewards than there are liquid. Like
yeah, that's insane.
let that sink in for a second. There is 358 billion tokens liquid. There's 417 in the reward pool. Like that is insane. Now that's including unclaimed as well, so it's showing 417. But let's come over here and see what there's actually.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but just like
those.
I said, right? Like I'm part of that, right? I haven't
Yeah,
claimed any of them. So it's
yeah,
like I just you look at it as like a savings account almost.
yeah. Yeah, so there's currently 242 billion worth 470K. Um, and are we even halfway through the week? I don't think we're halfway.
No. No, we're
Like,
not.
like, can we break 1 million in payouts this week? That's the question I ask. That would be amazing to see. I don't know that we've Have we seen that? Have we seen, probably in Titan X, there's probably been some massive payouts in Titan X
Yeah.
pools. Um,
Yeah, there was some millions in the beginning for sure, but I don't think as of late really anything is really came close in my opinion.
yeah. So that's very cool to watch. And like we're seeing the effects of like the LP bonding. We've seen Titan X going up in price, and like we're seeing all the ecosystem tokens responding like they do with the bonded liquidity, and we're seeing Element280 respond the same way as well. Like all of it's on that side of things, it's working as intended, the way I envisioned the bonded LPs going. Uh,
Yeah,
Let me
and
go
for
to
the
the
most part, the
E280.
price has been just pretty solid, right? It gets its up and downs just like any other project, but it's been really
Yeah,
solid since launch, in my opinion.
yeah. I mean, it's up to Titan X and the ecosystem at this point in time. You know, right now with the ability to mint tokens, you know, if there's a certain ratio, then there's that arbitrage opportunity, and people are doing that, like we were talking about. So it's not until after the 28-day mint phase is over that we're actually going to see price discovery on what's the actual value of this token. You know,
Yep.
right now it's being held in this tight track between all the arbitrage that's going on, but it'll be interesting to see it. Yeah, like I said, once the minting is no more and the burns continue, like what is that going to look like? Um, you
Yeah,
know,
the price discovery hasn't even came close to what it's my opinion slash kind of guess to what might happen later on in the minting phase. It's going to be pandemonium right at the end. I think the last couple days there's going to be a ton of FOMO mints and burns, and I really think it's going to get a little crazy at the end, just solely due to the fact that people will never be able to mint again. And that's I love to reiterate that, right? 10 days left to mint forever, and this is for the lifetime of this project, right? So it's understated that people just think this is kind of this game is just going to continuously be like this, but there is an end to minting, and it's encroaching quicker than you think.
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but the I think the last or the second to last mint phase for Inferno was some of the highest participation levels they got across the board.
Yep, the second and the last one were the biggest ones because the ROI at one point was like over 20 something percent on a mint that was the last one was 1 to 0.65. So and the ROI was still at like almost over 20%. So like that's
Hmm.
kind of where I'm thinking that this is kind of gonna go along the same lines.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I definitely don't want to speculate on E280.
That's
But
why I'm
yeah,
noted for you.
yeah. But yeah, I do look at Inferno and I'm like, because that kind of caught me by surprise. And then I'm like, well, that kind of does make sense. You know, if the chart looks good and minting phase is, you know, forever shutting down, I can see the FOMO building on that. And
Yep.
users are like, oh, like this is my last chance to get in on this. Um, yeah,
Yeah, that's
it's,
exactly why I'm so bullish on how much has already went into minting and knowing kind of where the last kind of days, in my opinion, are going to go. We're going to smash 10. We're going to smash it.
yeah, yeah. In the number of amplifiers, I am impressed by as well. Like a lot of people, this signifies to me that these are all long-term players. Like, and I saw Prairie Banana. He mentioned he burned all of his regular NFTs to remint amplified versions of those NFTs. Because I think at first he, you know, had the concept in his head, you know, participated, and then
Mhm.
while he's in it, realizing, oh wow, this is maybe better than he had imagined. I don't know, but like at a certain point, he was like, "Oh wait, no, I want the additional rewards," and took that opportunity to burn those and remint the amplified versions of it. And yeah, so we've seen a ton of. I mean, you look at the stats, like it's more than double across the board on each tier. These people are in it for the long haul. At least that they're gonna try to be, like you said.
Yeah. Yeah. It's gonna be hard. I mean, due to just scarcity and the price potential, right? It could get really hard to hold on to them. And what's really cool is them having such a good backing, right? And obviously, there's a burn percentage that needs to happen when you burn the NFT, which is smart to do that. But also, it's backed by E280. So it's like it's not bad to own the tokens outright. You're just not going to get the rewards, right? So people are going to
Yeah.
kind of be they're like, well, I don't want to sell all of my coins, but I need to like sell 10% or whatever the case may be, because it just might get so crazy in the future. Like speculation is really high.
Yeah. 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 Hyperdeflation coming soon to an ecosystem near you. All of Titan X. Like, oh, I can't wait. It's coming. 369 is tomorrow.
Yep.
Tomorrow. That was
Yeah,
another
at one
thing I
point,
needed.
never thought that would happen. Right? We'd never get to this point.
Yeah. And we've been waiting last minute. So we've been transferring Titan X over to our Treasury, like weekly or something, and we're waiting last minute. We'll probably in a few hours do one last transfer of all the Titan X that we brought in from E280 and throw that in our Treasury and stake it so that we get that full payout. And it's looking beautiful. 226 billion is nothing to laugh at to add to our treasury. That's, I mean, roughly speaking, we're about to increase our staked Titan X by 20%.
Yep.
Which 20% is legitimate. Yeah, so great. And let's see. I think I had, yep. So I'm logged in with, this is one thing I love about Rabby Wallet is you can just paste any address you want in there, and then you can connect to websites as if you are that user. Now, obviously, I can't sign transactions because I don't have the seed phrase, but I'm logged in like as if I was. So I'm logged in as the HLX Treasury, just to view like, so we're getting currently 200K in payout. So
Nice.
we should increase that by roughly 20%. So it's looking like we're going to get around 220K in a few hours.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Very and that
awesome.
just boosters everything. It's just a great influx of funds.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, 70% of that for the going to the buy and burn, that's got to buy Titan X. It's got to buy the Titan X before it can buy HLX and burn it. Same thing with Dragon X. Like there's going to be a ton of ETH coming in. And then think about all the users that are collecting ETH. Are they going to be increasing their positions in the Titan X ecosystem? That could drive, man, Titan X. The next week will be interesting to watch. You better believe I'll be watching the charts. Like, I have to keep stopping myself. Like, I don't want to get into too much chart talk. Like,
yeah.
For one, I don't do TA. It's all fundamental analysis for me. But yeah, it's
and that's what I call it macro alpha, right? Analysis, in my opinion, right? I think of like kind of everything that's currently happening and how that could affect things versus like the nitty gritty of every little tiny thing. Because once you start thinking about that, it gets to be a lot, and we have enough macro stuff going on in this ecosystem to be like, okay, I feel good about this and where it's headed and what it's going to do for this project, that project. So I'm totally with you, and that's kind of why during the year anniversary, I loved that we had the verse on, because those guys like really analyze it in depth. So
Mhm.
just kind of combining kind of how me and you think about things, and then add that, it's just a nice confirmation, really.
Yep. Yep. I totally agree that fundamental analysis and technical analysis, they're two halves to, what's, and obviously, like I was saying earlier, the market's unpredictable. Like even if you've got, like, you feel like both halves, there's still outside forces that are like, you can't factor it all in. I mean, if we could predict it, then we would be breaking the matrix,
Yeah, literally.
Yeah. But yeah, we've been having discussions. We're actually going to have a DAO meeting tomorrow to kind of discuss the direction we want to go with all of these tokens that we've got in the HLX Treasury.
Hmm.
It's one thing is for sure, it's all going to support the HLX ecosystem, um, and it'll be fun to decide what we want to do with all this. And like I said, we've got some good ideas, and if, for the community out there, we've had some people ask, "What are we going to do?" Like, I would prefer suggestions. Like, what do you think? What do you think? Like, this is community led. Let's. I want the community's input on this. Let's find something really cool to do with these that supports ourselves. And like, the hard part is to get the funds.
Yeah.
Now it's there. The easy part, the fun part, is deciding what you want to do with them to support HLX. And when I say support HLX, I think the three biggest things, there's two main things. One are buy and burn. Obviously, that's important for the ecosystem, and the staking payouts. Those two sectors are very important for our community. Obviously, the buy and burn is for price appreciation of the token, and staking payouts is for our stakers. And then another third smaller slice, I think, that we could start implementing is actually adding to the LP, like the Titan X HLX LP. It would be nice to thicken that up a little bit more. It never
Hmm.
hurts to have extra liquidity.
Yeah,
So
I totally agree.
those are
Yeah.
my three main points that I want to like start attacking with, like utilizing these tokens to help support that in some
Yep.
form or fashion.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And we've seen it, right? I mean, nice thick liquidity just really helps out just the overall strength of the whole entire project.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, if you got any ideas or your suggestions that you want to see, please jump in our Telegram and throw those out there. We'll definitely go to some voting very soon on what we want. Anything we decide to do, it definitely will go to a vote, because even if you're not a part of the deliberations and deciding on these strategies, you can still be a part of the final results. It's going to ultimately come down to a vote on a yes or no on this strategy. So, yeah, keep an eye out for that. That's coming very soon. So,
Awesome. Yeah. And I like that you have multiple projects now, so you can kind of show how kind of the interconnectability that they both have together. And I think they balance each other out really well. And a big thing that HLX needs is more burning of the tokens, in my opinion. And Element 280 is definitely doing that for it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Our buy and burn for HLX has been off for a little while. So we're definitely excited to get this ETH payout tomorrow. Like I said, 70% of that's pre-programmed to go into there. Our future treasuries, we're going to dial that back some. Like I said, I think future treasuries will split more 50-50 to staking and buy and burn to really support both sides of that.
Hmm.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to 70% of that. What did we say? 220K. That'll be nice. And yeah,
Yeah.
E280, like, it's burned 44 billion HLX all on its own. And that's just HLX. Like it's the biggest burner of the whole ecosystem. Like as a whole, it's just great to see. I'm just I don't know, man. I want to.
Yeah. So, in your opinion, obviously, Element 280, it's burnt, over 3 trillion Element 280 tokens. But besides Element 280, out of all of these, what do you think that is the most surprising on how much you burnt of a specific token?
Just all of it in general, I would say. You can say 10% goes to burning these tokens, but like you don't know how many Titan X is going to was going to come into the contract, and with us exceeding our expectations of mints,
Hmm.
we're exceeding our expectations of ecosystem tokens that we burned. Um, just not long ago, I was on stream with Eric, and again, he's kind of in his own world, and I totally understand that. It's hard, as a developer, you're kind of in your own world, you
Hmm.
know. But he was, I was showing off the website, and he was looking, and he was like, "You burned 4 billion Dragon X," and I was like, "Yeah, yeah." Like he was like, "Oh, what?" Like, and we're approaching 7 billion Dragon X that we
Hmm.
burned. Like, yeah, man. Like, and he had no idea, like yes, this is here to support the whole ecosystem, and I feel like we have succeeded in that.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And once you see the numbers, the stat page is for Element 280 is just mind blowing. And I think everybody that if you're on the fence about joining Element 280 or minting tokens or minting an NFT, just look at what we've already accomplished in the first 18 days. Like the chart looks amazing, the amount of tokens burnt looks amazing, and the fact that you have almost 38% of Element 280 burnt already is so insane.
With minting going on,
Yep.
right? Like it's um, yeah, and that was a big part of the design. It was like we want a super massive buy and burn, and 90%, that's up there. That's Inferno levels. We saw Inferno do well, and that's where I was like, I really want to match that, and then it was originally just Element 280, and Rich was like, "Man, let's burn ecosystem tokens too." And I was thinking about it, and I'm like, "Yeah, but that doesn't really support us." And then I was thinking about it, I'm like, "Wait, it does." Like
Hmm.
we're paired with all of these tokens by buying and burning these tokens. That's supporting Element 280. And we did consider, we were like, well, should we up it to 20%? And then we were like, no, 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 like let's not get crazy here. Like uh, and I'm glad we didn't. I think the percentages that we have set on everything are working spectacular, and yeah, it's working beautifully.
Yeah.
Um,
And I think, if you did, since you went a little bit harder at the bind burn of Element 280, that's only going to help all of the LPs in the long run.
yeah, right, because it's putting those ecosystem tokens in the LP. Exactly. Yeah.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I saw a bunch of questions here. Do you want to run through the chat?
Yeah, we can run through the chat. Let's start from the beginning.
Yeah,
Um,
does Element add to burned LP with each transaction? No, it does not. And I'll tell you why. Uh, Taxes are only in Element tokens. So when a buy or sell a transfer happens, we're taxing the Element token. To add to an LP, we need the other half of that token. So the only way to get that would be to sell Element tokens to get that other half. And that does work, and you can do it, and like that's how Giannis is designed. That's how a lot of these other tax tokens are designed. But what I noticed with Giannis is I don't really like every time that triggers, it puts a red candle on the chart. Like you have to sell the token to get the other side. Yeah, you're increasing the LP, but you're putting a red candle on the chart. And ultimately, I was like, man, I don't like that. It is good to add to the LP, but something that I always point out to people when they're like, well, that are worried about LPs and, well, how do these get boosted? What did Baby Dragon X do to increase their LP? Like, it just happened on its own. Titan X went up in value, Dragon X went up in value, their LP automatically went up in value, and they went from a 50K LP to a $1 million LP plus. They're over $1 million in LP, and they did all that without adding a single token to that liquidity pool.
Yep.
So to me, like, as long as Titan X is doing what it's intended to do, and all these ecosystem tokens are doing what they intend on doing, Element's gonna be just fine. That's the way I see it. And so I preferred not having a piece of that tax going to it, and it was like, let's just burn the tokens. Let's pay the NFT holders. Like, let's not. I didn't want like a breakout of like 8 different routes and all that. Like, let's keep it simple. And in my opinion, it'll do just fine on its own with just that. So that's why we made the decision not to do that.
I love that. Yeah. So LT Investor said current element price ratios are largely supported by buy and burn. After mint phase of E280, buy and burn will effectively shut down because there will be no new inflow of Titan X. What will then support the price ratios?
That's an open market question. Like, there's nothing pegging the token to a price. That's decided by the open market. What I'll say is, this project is not dependent on the buy and burn. Like, there is a tax on every buy sell transfer. This token with 0 buy and burn will be burning with every transfer forever, like on its own with nothing else, just at a base level. It's deflationary. And then you add in the 14, I think we're up to like 17 LPs, because we've added, since launch, we've added Pulsar, Alien X, Ouroboros, Lotus. So I think that puts us at 18 LPs. And every one we continuously add to, it's just going to create more arbitrage opportunities. And that's something that people kind of underestimate or aren't really familiar with how that works. Is like, Element280, its price is derived from the other half of that pair. And if it's in 18 plus different pairs, the price of that token is always fluctuating dependent on the underlying asset, which is the entire ecosystem. So as Dragon X goes up and down, Flux, Inferno, HLX, all of these tokens, as they go up and down in value, it's going to create price discrepancies. And there's going to be an arbitrage bot that wants to make a few pennies and will buy up Element on one pair, immediately sell it on another pair, and make a few pennies. The competitiveness of these arbitrage bots is super tight, very competitive, and they're factoring in the tax. Like, they see the tax, and if they can see they're doing it all in one transaction, if they can see I can buy it here, immediately sell it here, and tax included, come out with a profit, they're going to do it. And they're also factoring in gas prices as well, obviously. And if they see an arbitrage opportunity that pays them, let's just say $1, if they want to get greedy and say, no, I'm not going to make that trade, I'm going to wait till the price goes, I want to make $1.50 on this trade. Well, while they're waiting on that build up, somebody else could go in and take that $1, because it's an open market. And so with that open market there, these arbitrage bots are forced to make very low ROI plays. And they're making money because they're doing thousands of transactions a day across all the blockchains. That's their only job, is to scan blockchains, LPs, for arbitrage plays. And very clearly, they have found Element280. Arbitrage bots know about it. it will always be in their radar to watch those LPs. So again, with no buy and burn, there's arbitrage plays always going on, and there's always going to be buys and sells. There's the token is going to burn on itself right there with zero buy and burn.
Yep. So net deflationary, literally no matter what, which obviously is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he said 2 million in total volume between all the pairs yesterday. That's nuts. And like you said, right? I love talking to you and having these streams with you because you kind of bring me back to reality of like, don't overestimate, don't overthink of the highness of what it could go to, right? Just be okay with like baseline. And I did not think we'd be doing millions of volume every day. And it could be more in the future with just more price appreciation too, which is even crazier to think about.
Yeah. Now, yeah, and like there's definitely an effect on having our buy and burn running. Like and that's another thing that's working amazing is the buy and burn is tax free. It's whitelisted, so it's not getting taxed as it's buying and burning the Element 280. But people that are selling into the buy and burn are getting taxed. And that's the biggest thing that I think is helping the whole ecosystem out. The E280 ecosystem is like the buy and burn is able to push through freely, but the sellers are getting taxed, and that's what's paying all the NFT holders. Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what the volume kind of levels out at down the road. But get it while you can. Like it's here. Like to me, like it's if you look at the amount of rewards that are coming in for an NFT right now, like to me that's massive. Like you would think like, oh, I'm gonna buy this NFT and hopefully I get my ROI back after some time down the road. Like the payouts are huge right now. So
yeah, and I love it because right before, and this is me personally, I just mint a couple commons right before the NFTs like come out, just to utilize a little bit more of the reward pool. So now I got some stacked up, which is great. And just to reiterate, he says when trying to swap on Uniswap between E280 and Titanx or Helios, it says this transaction will fail. So is it possible to do swaps after the minting phase? The transactions have a tax on them, and right now you have to have your slippage very high to make these things go through due to the tax. So if you want to explain that a little bit more for him, just so he knows.
Yeah. So Uniswap defaults to a 0.5% slippage. And it does not, for any tax token, you have to manually set your slippage on Uniswap. There's a setting you can go to, and there's a little gear that you click, and you set your slippage to account for that tax. So in this case, 16% tax during mint phase. If you want to successfully get a trade through, it's been between 19 and 20% on average is what you have to set that slippage rate to be able to sell.
Yep.
And again, you're like, that sounds ridiculous. People have been doing it nonstop for the entire 18 days. Like it still makes sense to lots of users to do that. And that's why we set it to an outrageous tax rate, because we knew that was going to be the case. And that's and out of that 16, I think it's like 12.8% is going to NFT holders. Like that's where all your rewards are coming from all those people. So after mint phase, the tax is going to drop down to 4%, and it'll be at that rate forever afterwards. So I'd say your slippage is going to need to set to 5 or 6% would be my guess for the life of the token after mint phase. But yeah, that's been a very common question. Like it says it's going to fail. I'm like, yeah, because there's a tax that needs to be accounted for that Uniswap's not automatically accounting for.
Right. Yeah.
So
And it's you got to do it yourself to make that happen because right it needs that slippage to even like even do it, period. Right. And you have to have more than that 16% to make it worthwhile. And that's kind of why you said probably 5 or 6% after mint phase due to the 4% tax.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And so Rich S says, what is done with the fees from all the E280 LPs?
Yeah, so all the LPs we burned on launch. So the second it was in the smart contract when we created these LPs, they got burned. And these are V2 LPs, and this is a distinction that a lot of people don't understand. This is not the same as a V3, and we're talking Uniswap V2 versus Uniswap V3. Uniswap v3 allows for single-sided liquidity, and it has all these additional bells and whistles, and you can see exactly what you're earning and you claim those rewards. V2 is way more simple. It's full range only, and any fees just automatically get auto compounded into your position. There's no claiming of rewards. It just automatically grows your LP. And if you want to quote like take profits, you're just pulling some of your LP tokens out. But it's automatically getting auto added. And so in our case for we burned these LPs. So those burnt LPs, the rewards that they're earning are automatically getting thrown back into the burn pool. So they are earning automatically and re-adding to the pool automatically, and are always forever burned. That's
And that's
not the
happening
case.
all day, right? All day.
Yeah, every single trade, there's a 1% tax that goes to the Uniswap LP providers, and that 1%, if the it's not even the smart contract that owns it. It's the burn address at this point. So every transaction that LP is getting added to,
Yeah.
which
That's
also,
awesome.
yeah, and that kind of segues into our LP manager. I've gotten a lot of questions on this as well. There are no there's one single purpose for the LP manager, and that's for people that want to provide liquidity. If you go to Uniswap's website and you go add to an LP, the token can't tell the difference. Anytime the element token is transferred, it gets taxed. And so if you were to add to the LP on Uniswap, it's going to tax you 16%, or after mint phase 4%. So what we did to circumvent that is create our own interface. It's a smart contract that we whitelisted to be tax-free. So if you want to provide liquidity, you can come here, provide, whatever token on the list you want, and we're always adding to it. So you can see we've already added the 4 latest projects. So you want to add Lotus, you click Lotus, you enter the amount of Lotus tokens you want to provide. It auto calculates the other half of the pool. You've got to provide both sides just like you would on any other full range LP. We're not adding any additional rewards to the user or anything like that. This is just to avoid the tax to enter or exit your LP position. And we've seen people are adding liquidity. I mean, the volume is like 3x the liquidity pair, and that really attracts LP providers. I've seen in other tokens where I've wanted to provide liquidity, but I get taxed doing that. And I'm like, man, think about this. If I got taxed 4% in and then 4% out, that's 8% negative ROI that I have to get through in LP fees to even break even. And that's very discouraging. And I'm like, you know what? Forget that. And I ended up just not providing liquidity. And that doesn't support the protocol.
Yep.
So that's why we wanted this here, because there's no additional rewards. It's just there is that 1% fee that Uniswap charges that goes to LP providers. Whether that's going to the burn pool or to a user, it doesn't matter. It's whatever ratio you've got. But so you can enter and exit your position here tax free. If you want to view your position, go to Uniswap's website and you can see your position just as if you were using Uniswap the whole time. And you're welcome to use Uniswap's enter and exit features, but you're going to get taxed on it. So I feel like we need to just add an additional banner here explaining there are no additional rewards. This is just for people that want to provide liquidity and get your standard LP fees that you earn from that from Uniswap. So I feel like I over-explained that maybe, but maybe not.
Yeah, I think more information is better than that.
Okay.
Better than not, in my opinion. Yeah. So he said, Jay says, "Hey, dude, when V2 on E280 new ecosystem tokens."
All right. So V2 is coming with Element280, which is coming very fast. Definitely in November. I'll say that. Element280, we haven't done a whole lot of marketing with it. I'm trying to let E280 run its course. We want the full focus on this 28-day mint phase. I don't want to complicate it with people. But if you're just wanting to know, like, so V2 is coming with Element280. And V2 is going to be a direct buy and burn on Element280. So any of the Titan X that comes from our V2 buy and burn, it'll come from the Element280 protocol. All of that Titan X is going to be 100% buy and burn of E280. So after V1 is done, we are done burning ecosystem tokens. V2 is going to prioritize Element280 itself. We are, like I said, just directly buying and burning E280 at this point. And that's, I feel like V1 was to kind of get the eyes on everything and support the whole ecosystem. V2 is going to be like, okay, like now let's worry about ourselves for a little bit.
Yep. Which, in my opinion, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, and it bolsters everything else just as much as it helps E280, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. And then as far as like additional tokens, we are constantly going in here and whitelisting new tokens as they come out. We will add them to this list because you got to keep in mind that there's Element280 will be capped after this mint phase. Like we can't mint more 280 tokens to create new LPs. These have to be, they have to come from somewhere. And so this is going to be a community-led thing. Like we will definitely be adding the liquidity, the LPs, the additional pairs, but to thicken them up, they're going to have to come from the community. And I think people will be incentivized to do that just because, again, with arbitrage plays, there's going to be constant buying and selling across all these pools. So I think they'll grow over time. I think the Lotus pair already had like 5 or 7 grand in it or something. Like,
oh wow,
there were several people that were interested in adding to that, and I think they will all just continuously grow. But
yeah, and a big thing in this ecosystem is people are looking for plays to happen. If there's undervalued plays or pairs or whatever the case may be, someone is going to fill that. It blows my mind how quick it actually happens with the people in this ecosystem, but it happens very fast.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I'm so bullish on E280, man. This has been, I think, blowing everybody's expectations as well as mine, and it's not going to stop. And everything that you guys build and other people build on top of it is just going to make it even more impressive in the future. So I'm blown away, and congratulations on a great 18 days to start. Really.
Yeah, yeah, and just to quickly go through that, we've got Element 369, obviously, coming next, and that's bringing on the V2 buy and burn, which is directly buying and burning. 100% of the Titan coming in is buying and burning E280. That'll be great. We've also got Volt Gold coming out mid-November, and that's going to be that'll create E280 as an input token for one of the Volt pillars. And just to confirm, we will whitelist the Volt Gold contract. So people that are wanting to utilize their E280 tokens to participate in minting, they're not going to get taxed on that. So we want to support Volt and support the community, and I feel like that's the best route to go, to not stifle participation on that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so sick, man. And you got so much coming out, and I know you got a lot coming out that you're not even talking about right now. And it's just really cool to see the evolution of kind of where you started with Helios and what you're doing now and what you're going to be doing in the future, man. So it's really impressive, seriously.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, and just to finish it off, there is a third project with Utah Crypto and I, that's going to be another easy button that I think a lot of people are going to like, and that's in development. So there's 3 projects. All, like, we haven't even, like I said, I want to concentrate on the mint phase. Obviously, people want to, before they mint, they want to know, well, what's the future look like?
Mhm.
Well, there's a lot going on.
Yeah, to say the least.
But I don't want to discount, like, at its base level, this is a finished product.
Yep.
It is deflationary all on its own. Whether you do anything with it, like, it will do something on its own. And that's a big thing that I think with HLX, I've called it the zombie protocol. Like, that's kind of my style, is like, I don't want to be dependent on user participation. Obviously, the more participation, the better. But if everybody goes away, HLX is going to do just fine. It's got its treasuries. It will constantly feed stakers the buy and burn. E280, if everybody sells and leaves, it'll do just fine. It's going to always have that burn mechanism in it. And then you
Yeah.
just throw in all the other projects that are supporting it on top of it, like, then it's just gravy.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think early on some projects need other people to build on top of it to really achieve kind of what they're looking for. But I like the fact that you have as you call, a zombie project, right? Just it's by itself. You just need it to do its thing and it's good. And whatever you build on top of it is gravy, man.
Yeah, it just accelerates it, at that point.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. It's been a great stream, man. This has been awesome. Pumped. There's well over 370 people watching. So this has been an amazing stream. Tons of interactive comments have went crazy. So yeah, we're about to jump in the weekly blaze. I don't know if you want to jump on there, but you surely can. And yeah, so any last words before we sign off?
Oh, oh man, just 10 days and we are forever closing shop on minting. So if you haven't heard about E280, I highly recommend reading the white paper, asking questions in our Telegram, um, doing your research. You got 10 days, so you don't need to FOMO. Um, our user vault has got 110 hours left for the next distribution. So if you're trying to get in on this next payout, you've got 110 hours. Think about what you want to do, how you want to play it. And if you want a piece of this 475,000 USD that's coming, there's time to look into it. So yeah, other than that, it was a pleasure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so I appreciate you coming on, dude. Obviously, you're always welcome on my channel. And I
Thank
think
you.
every time we do this, right, we bring a lot of information, a lot of alpha, and people really enjoy our stream. So I want to thank you for coming on.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well, This has been another episode, live stream, Smooth and Crypto. I'm your host, Maxwell Smooth. We're out of here. Peace.